Oh. I'm still here. I forgot to put myself back up.
Oh, is that what you said? Oh, about?
Yeah,
I always wonder immediately, what did I screw up whenever we're going to a video and someone chimes in one like, hey, wait, what? Right at the last second. So, all right. So here's how I'm going to do it from now on, because, I'm sure you guys have probably noticed, whether you really care that much or not, I don't know. But, we tend to shift where our screens are on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I just decided wherever we'll go in the order of however the screens are laid out whenever we get to whatever segment we needed to decide an order on. How's that sound?
Okay. Yeah, I never really noticed that.
Yeah, it switches all the time though. I notice that all the time whenever I'm rewatching over and over again, of course,
It's either that or the spinner, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right, so Mike, with you being top left, you're first.
Okay.
In the comic book reviews this week.
Okay. So this week, I didn't read all of it because I've got Snow Angels Volume 2 by Jeff Lemire and Jock. Let me see. I made notes. I lost my notes. I think Volume 1, I think, had 94 pages, and Volume 2 has like 145 pages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot more. So I didn't read the whole thing. Even if I did, I wouldn't review the whole thing. So Patrick reviewed Volume 1 probably a month or so ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But so go ahead back and watch his review, and then that'll catch you up to where we are here. So, within the trench, basically there was a father and two daughters. They live in the trench, and within the trench there are 3 rules. By the time we get to Volume 2, the girls are getting ready to break rule number 3. Rule number 3 is you must never, ever leave the trench. Mill and May May are the 2 girls, and they're moving on after the death of their father at the hands of the Snowman. He's the villain in the story, and they leave the trench. May May is younger and she's weak, and so she wants to stop all the time. And Millie has this digital map sort of thing that she pulls it out, and it kind of puts kind of like what Iron Man does, where he brings everything out right in front of him, and you can see like a digital, picture out in front of you. It's some sort of map of something, and she doesn't really understand it, but they look at it. They end up arriving at some large ice banks, and they collapse because they're just exhausted. And after they collapse, the digital map device sends a signal which awakens a large robot beneath these ice banks. And it engages emergency protocols, but these protocols, it seems to be malfunctioning in its vocal commands. They're all broken. And you know what? I forget I have pictures. So that's those are 2 girls. And I love the Jock's artwork, by the way. So he grabs the 2 girls and puts them in a hatch, which is kind of inside. He's a huge robot, puts it inside there where they end up falling asleep. And they're awoken by an alarm sounding, and it's hostile detected over and over. And that's a picture of the robot. The girls are real tiny there.
Is that the Snowman? Is that what they? No.
No, that's not the Snowman. That's the robot that they end up that wakes up due to that little mapping device thing they have.
Oh, okay.
So the girls are awoken by an alarm sounding, and it's repeating hostile detected over and over. And they can actually look out and see. They think it's a snowman, but it's actually a group of people. And these people don't look anything like the trench folk that these girls are used to seeing. But once again, they're outside the trench now. And the robot, sensing them as danger, opens fire with machine guns and just starts laying them to waste. So That is as far as I read, because that was about 30 pages.
Ah,
And this is it's a get it for me. For I'm a Jeff Lemire fan, so it's a must have. But for the average comic book reader, yeah, it's a get it.
yeah, I'm gonna get it. I meant to get it after Pat reviewed it, but I didn't.
Yep.
All right, cool. Pat, what do you got?
Okay, what I got is I'm following up on what I read last week.
Very nice.
Sorry, I got to scroll down here and find it. Where I read Avengers Forever. Okay, so I read 3 through 6, and that gets me caught up from what the issues that I had on hand. This is number 3. It's a variant cover by Ed McGuinness, so it doesn't really totally represent what was going on in this issue. But basically, I kind of left out who the big bad guy was in this series, I believe. And what they're doing is they're going up against the multiversal masters of evil, led by, we find out later in issue 4, I believe, or 5, Doom Supreme. What you're gonna see here is there's a lot of combinations of characters, different variations of characters that you know, but they're twisted throughout the different Earths. So I might not always get the names of these guys right, but you'll kind of get the gist, I think. So where we left it was, Ghost Rider from the Marvel Earth has been shunted off, and he's left on this world, and it's a world where Tony Stark is Ant-Man, and he sort of has his little ragtag misfit Avengers team, and this Earth, you find out that the Masters of Evil, they conquer planets and then give rule to the individual planets, to their individual members. And this planet where Tony Stark Ant-Man resides, the ultimate leader of their Earth is Black Skull, who is a combination of Red Skull taken over by the Venom symbiote, which is kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
But in issues 3 and 4, they take care of him, along with the Deathlock that was brought over with Ghost Rider sort of joins forces with Tony Stark's Avengers, and they defeat the Black Skull of that Earth. But in the meantime, they open these portals, and all these other Black Skulls from different dimensions start pouring in. Just in time in number 4, for Thor's granddaughters. He has 3 granddaughters that were introduced in Jason Aaron's run. They come in and sort of save the day. They wipe the floor of these variant Black Skulls, and it sort of wrapped up this portion of the storyline rather quick, I thought. I was kind of like just getting into this Earth and what they were up to, but now you're kind of finding out that it's more about sort of forming this disparate group of Avengers, with Tony Stark, Ant-Man, the Ghost Rider from our Earth, the Deathlock, and they're going to track down all these variations on the Masters of Evil and try to defeat them to keep the multiverse safe.
So they're going to travel to all the different multiverses, basically?
Yeah. They're trying to gather, I think, certain specific Avengers throughout the multiverse to try to defeat the Masters of Evil. And a little bit, I'm coming a little bit cold on this, because I think a lot of this backstory was introduced in the main Avengers storyline, and I'm behind on that. I jumped right to Avengers Forever, but I don't think it's rocket science. You can kind of you can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Then number 5 was sort of like a standalone issue, and it dealt with Dr. Doom, who is the leader of the Masters of Evil, the multiversal Masters of Evil. And basically he leads up the group, typical big bad guys that you would think of, but they're, there's little twists and turns on their characters. But they go in and conquer an Earth, and they find out, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
You can see there, there's probably the main one in front, and there's a lot of variants behind them. But we find out that as they conquer these Earths, the his underlings and the Masters of Evil kind of bicker over who gets what and who rules this Earth. But Dr. Doom isn't concerned. You find out that he is going through and either killing off his variants on these Earths, so he becomes the one and only, or he subjugates the Dooms to do their will. And this Earth that they're on in issue 5 happens to be everyone's man things on this Earth. So it's sorry, it's Dr. Doom. What do they call him? Man Doom or Doom Thing, I think.
You said Doom Supreme earlier. Is that
he's here, but the Doom of this Earth that they're particular Earth that they're trying to conquer is all man things. So he's
gotcha.
He's Doom Thing, I think.
Gotcha. Okay.
And this is kind of I've sort of nitpicked Jason Aaron in the past. I think sometimes he gets a little corny, and the thing that really bugged me in this issue was Doom Supreme. He's torturing this man thing, Dr. Doom, and the two things that he wanted to do to him were to cut off Man Thing's eyelids, which I don't think he has eyelids. I've never seen him drawn with eyelids. And then they tell him he finally agrees. He's been beaten down. He agrees to be Ultimate Doom Supreme's minion, and they tell Ultimate Doom tells all the other Dooms to cut out his tongue. And I didn't think Man Thing had a tongue either. Just two little things that bugged me about that issue. And then number 6 was sort of another sort of standalone issue, although it did dovetail back into the main storyline at the end. And this dealt with T'Challa, who on this Earth is called Vibranium Man, where he basically is tracking down bits and pieces of vibranium to make his suit. And he's sort of like a Spider-Man, Black Panther combined hero. And the big villain he's out to get is Killmonger, who's called King Killmonger, who's combined with Killmonger, and somehow he's got the Destroyer armor from Thor. So he's sort of like Doom. He goes through, and I think his deal is he's going to all the Earths trying to kill all the T'Challas for some reason. And eventually at the end of this, our crew of Ghost Rider and Deathlock and Ant-Man find T'Challa. He's been thrown into the sun by the Destroyer, but he encased himself in a vibranium shell, and he's rescued by our misfit Avengers. And I think they're gathering their team from there, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. I still am sort of on the fence with this book. And I did want to mention, it started out by Jason Aaron, and Aaron Cooter was the artist, and he only did the first 3 issues. And now our main artist is James Towell, who I wasn't familiar with, but he's competent. He reminds me of sort of like Dale Keown or Paul Pelletier. But in Aaron, I think Aaron Cooter's continued to do the main covers, so maybe he'll be back. Maybe they're switching back and forth on 3 arcs here, 3 arcs there. But yeah, like I said with the other ones, and I don't know if I got to show 4 with Thor's granddaughters, or Kevin took care of that for me.
Oh yeah.
He did, he did that cover. He did the cover for the A cover for 3. He was back here on 5, and he did this one too, I believe. So that kind of leads me to believe, and I could probably find out easily if he's back for number 7. But yeah, it's sort of one of those things. If you don't mind mixing the artists up, you'll be, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you're one of those guys that's a nitpicker for having consistent artwork, it might bother you a little bit. But yeah, like I said, still on the fence for me. I probably have 3 more issues on order, so I'll get through those and maybe see how I feel and whether I want to continue it or drop it.
What are Thor's granddaughters' names? Do you know?
I couldn't tell you offhand. They're very,
Asgardian.
Norse
Asgardian, yeah,
yeah.
Norse derived.
Gotcha.
You'll see what I'll have them for you next time if I think of it, and you'll see right away why I couldn't remember them.
Okay.
I'm disappointed that I missed this Ed McGuinness cover for the pick 3. I would have put that up in a heartbeat. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I like that one.
I love Ed McGuinness. You do as well, Patrick.
Yeah.
That is, and I like the Universal Monsters and just
Right.
monsters. So
Yeah.
I'll be looking for a copy of that.
Yeah, I don't know if this sounds like, I'm arrogant or something, but this seems like the kind of story I would have written. Seems like it's like all over the place and it's nuts. It's let's get nuts kind of.
Yeah, you're right. It is one of those things where, like, really, we're just going to throw that in this direction.
Right.
It's I definitely see what you're saying there, Kevin.
It sounds fun though.
What kind of got me thinking of a new idea. We've got this new spinner wheel app, and it seems like who wrote that? Jason Aaron. It seems like this is what he did. He put all these different characters on the spinner wheel map, hit spin, and Dr. Doom,
right,
and Man Thing. There we go.
Yeah.
You just made. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna put a bunch of characters on a wheel, spin them, and then Patrick, you'll have to draw that character.
right. All right, that's good though. Yeah, it makes me want to. I've been getting all of them. I have them all, but I haven't read them all. But that makes me want to. I like the way that one sounds.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm next. I've got something we referenced earlier again, but this seems to here we go again. Nothing can be just mentioned once. You've done it. We've done it a couple times with both of what you guys just talked about. This references an old show that Mike, but it was Mike though. You know how I said Johnny referenced to Mike to watch Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
You're referencing to your old Avengers segment, and Mike was referencing to Snow Angels, which is your old review. So now I read Wolverine Patch, which Mike said he was going to read.
I still haven't read it.
Yeah. But I read Wolverine Patch 1 and 2, and I actually got 3 in my DCBS order this week, so I'll probably be reading that in the next couple days. I'm starting to work on a list of consistent, to where we get for me at least. I don't know if you guys decide you want to do it or not. It seems like you're going down that road a little bit, Pat, but consistent titles to where we can continue a storyline rather than just kind of mentioning one. And you two are teaming up with Snow Angels now, where you got volume 1, he got volume 2, to where we can, kind of continue stories for, people that want to follow it that way. But I was excited for this. So this is, again, Wolverine Patch, written by Larry Hama, pencilers Andrea DeVito, inkers Labine Underwood, colorist Sebastian Cheng, and the covers by Sean Delgado. I've taken to mentioning, obviously just writer and artist and cover, but penciler, we've had this conversation in the Xcellar group over the years many times. When I always thought of the artist as just the penciler, but then y'all are like, no, wait till you see this guy do the pencils and this guy do the ink, and this, we lost Mike, and this guy do the ink, and this guy, you guys have mentioned that to me in the past, and I don't really relate to that, but that's why I'm mentioning them all. Anyway, a little bit of overkill and explanation there. Patrick, you still with me?
Still here.
Okay, cool. Okay. Mike's back. Hey, Mike, did I make you mad there or something?
No, why?
Because you checked out.
Oh, no. I think somebody hit the power button on my house.
Oh.
Because I actually started to say something, and you just kept rolling like I wasn't even part of the show, and then everybody started spinning, and I got booed.
What were you gonna say? What were you starting to say?
It was right after you mentioned Snow Angels and Patrick. He can review the middle part of Volume 2, and then I'll review.
Well, what I mentioned while you're away is, how we've discussed in the group on occasion who you consider the artist and how you can identify that art. And then you guys have described to me, wait till you see his penciling done by his inking, done by his coloring, and you combine them all, and it gets very confusing for me,
Yeah.
So that's why I decided when I'm giving the stats for the book, I just mention them all. So.
Oh, gotcha.
Anyway, so in this story, basically, Patch is a co-owner of a bar in Mandrapore, and with Tiger, and basically there's this everybody and their brother that you think would be involved in a Wolverine story is really interested on this. There's this wrecked Russian plane right outside in the jungle outside of where his bar is in Mandrapore, and like Shield is there, and the locals are trying to get at it, and there's General Cho. There's a whole bunch of interested parties into this crashed plane that's in the middle of this jungle. And another guy, the Prince, which I'm not familiar with, but anyway, the Prince hires Patch and his best friend in this story, which is Archie Corrigan, to go help him, kind of recon what's going on with this plane. And then Shield sees Patch and Andrew reconning, and they tell him, hey, stay out of this. We got something going on here. Stay out of this. And then, of course, Patch doesn't listen, and he keeps investigating anyway. And then he comes across these two other mutants, which also I'm not familiar with, Beth and Gimmel. And he battles with them. And you can see in the cover for issue 2, this is Beth. He's fighting with her. And Beth and Gimmel are, again, these hired help for the locals to try to find out what's going on with this crashed Russian plane in the middle of the jungle. So that's basically the meat of what we get in issue 1 and 2. I really like this a lot. This is typical Wolverine fashion. Lots, more action than story in this book, which I'm fine with. Just give me a little bit of story and mix it in with a lot of action. I'll read you all day, and typical Wolverine that I love. And nothing comes to, like I said, nothing comes to conclusion in the first 2 issues. We don't even know what the story is exactly with the Russian jet there yet. We don't exactly know. We're starting to get the impression through Wolverine's instincts and what he discovers in the first 2 issues that everybody's up to. There's like nobody that's up to any good. I guess the only thing you could argue with that statement, if you cared to, was Beth and Gimmel, who he fights, end up caring more about the locals than anybody. So he kind of, by the end of issue 2, kind of teams up with them. So now it's kind of 3 mutants again and the locals in this jungle versus all these other characters that are involved, to see what's going on with this Russian plane. But I definitely love this. It's a definite get it for everybody, but I would say it's a must-have for any Wolverine fan. It's really good stuff.
Does this story take place back like around the time of Wolverine Volume 2 in the early parts of it?
Actually, I was going to ask you guys, because I've actually never read a Patch book before.
Well, that's where Patch came about, right? That's where. Now I remember you were in boot camp whenever that book came out.
Yeah. So I would assume this is from way back when. They didn't give any idea of me to be able. They didn't say like what year or anything it is in the book as I'm reading it. So I don't actually know, but I would assume because it's Patch, it's from way back when. So
that's classic Nick Fury. There, he's working for.
Yeah,
Seal.
Exactly. That's classic Nick Fury too.
Yeah. So that's definitely in the past.
Well, what I was going to ask you is, if anybody read this, for all I know, this could be like a reprint. You know?
Nah.
Oh no, it's definitely not.
Okay.
This is Marvel. They're doing so many of these past continuity books currently. You know.
Yeah.
Kind of filling in gaps and storylines that we've already read. But what's funny is, you guys have seen the movie Silver Bullet, right?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't Fury look like the preacher from Silver Bullet?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what I was looking up. Like, hey. So,
But
yeah,
I think maybe that's why I like this so much more as well too, because it was, classic stuff. It seemed to be written that way as well. Like, there's actually a few things in this where I was like, man, how is this surviving 2022? Like racial slurs and all kinds of stuff. There's actually 2 times in this I was like, wow, what's that doing in there? Which the character saying it was appropriate. So, that's how I feel. Right. Obviously, racial slurs are bad, but if you've got the bad guy doing it, he's obviously the a-hole of the book.
Yeah.
Hey, double down on him being the a-hole with that too, and I can handle that in my stories. So.
Yeah, par for the course. He's not going to be nice and politically correct and care about people's feelings.
Exactly.
He's a bad guy, for crying out loud.
But yeah, again, great stuff. I'm definitely going to continue on with this. This is going to be one of my books that I'm going to continue. I'll include part 3 since I've got it already, or book 3 since I've got it already in my review next week for sure. So.